Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our Introduction to Gemini session. My name is Gary Wagner, otherwise known as Gary the Google Guy. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. So first off, what is Google Gemini? Well, Gemini is a highly advanced multimodal AI model that can understand and generate text, images, code, and other forms of information. It's designed to be helpful, informative, and creative, with potential applications ranging from content creation and problem solving to assisting with complex tasks. Essentially, Gemini is a powerful AI tool for a wide range of uses. Okay, so let's break this down into something a little bit easier to understand what Gemini is and where you can find it. As we said, it's an AI tool. It's going to help you do a number of different things for creating or getting information and generative stuff. Generating meaning creating from new. So let's start off in mail since that's primarily where a lot of people spend the most time or when they come in first off when they log into the account. So before we get moving with this, one question that I do want to address that I get quite often is what happens with my data that I put up into Gemini? Well, you've got nothing to fear because Gemini is a part of Google Workspace. Therefore, any data that you put up into Workspace, into Gemini, is going to be protected by your data agreement. So with that, that means if you're using any of the tools regarding Gemini, anything that you put into your domain stays within your domain. Okay, let's get started with mail. Where do we find Gemini here? What are some ideas on how this thing works? So first off, in our screen, let's go to the upper left corner of our screen and click on Compose. When we click on our Compose box, you'll see Gemini immediately come up into the bottom row of your tools. So you have a new tool here just to the right of that A. This is the Help Me Write option. This is generative. It's going to help you create new emails and allow you to what we call polish an email if you just put a number of pieces to your email to help you compose it. But it can also do things like helping you reword, rephrase, either lengthen or shorten your emails with some of the included tools. So when we look at Gemini, let's break it down into three basic pieces to the tool itself. The basic tools, the generative tools. So let's talk about those first. Help Me Write is what we call a basic or generative tool. So we can find that here in email. Now, not only can we compose new emails from scratch, but if we get into any of our emails, and I'll just go into one, when we click on reply, we'll have the option to reply to an email. You'll also see that there is another piece here called Help Me Write. So I can actually start typing bits and pieces to that email that I want. And then from there, it can create that email for me. You can choose to accept it or reject it, reword it. You get to have the power on what you want to do with it. So that's step one with Gmail. Let's look at other places we can see this basic set of tool. In Google Docs, when you come into a new document, you'll see a Create a Document option, as well as, just like we saw in email, Help Me Write. You'll also notice to the right side of my screen in the toolbar where you usually see for comments, you'll see a Help Me Write option or tool. So we can click on it from there. Once again, basic set of tools. Generative, creating from scratch. Let's get into a sheet. When we look at a spreadsheet, you don't see anything right off the bat. However, if we look to the upper left of our screen in the toolbar, you'll see that there is an option called Help Me Organize. When we click on that button, it pops a window out on the right side of the screen, generative, for us to be able to create new templates, new spreadsheets, new layouts of what we want to do. We tell it what we need in terms of the creation from scratch. You can be very, very specific on the what you need in that spreadsheet, and it'll help you create it in a matter of seconds. Think about how long it takes you to create something like that from scratch. Okay, let's move on to slides. When we look at Google Slides, we have the option for being able to work with these new templates that have been added, but there's a new button that's been added to the right side of your screen. You'll see this top button in the right side toolbar This is your help me create an image. So when we click on that, it will pull our window up, and this is where we can create a generative AI image. So now we have the ability to say, create an image of a dog on a beach holding a surfboard. And it'll be able to take those different pieces and generate those as a single image. We have the option to use those, or we could tell it, hey, give me some additional options with that same premise. So you can really customize the what you want, what you need. Now, this could be for slide backgrounds. It can also be for images that you want to insert as a slide image as well. Okay, next up, let's go into Forms. When we look at Google Forms, you'll see a new button up at the top of your screen. There is a Help Me Create a Form. You'll also see this window appear up at the top if you're starting from scratch. If you're going into something that's already created, you may just see the button to help you along with it. But the Help Me Create a Form is really neat. It is where you can say, help me create a form for X amount of questions, including this, that, and the other, and it will create that as a template for you to use moving forward. You can customize as you see fit, but it'll really save you the amount of time to generate those questions maybe yourself or to create that form one question at a time. All right, so now let's get into the next set of tools. Let's go back to our Gmail screen. The next set of tools that we want to speak to are additional features, additional buttons, places we're going to see the tool, and another new tool that we're going to introduce you to here called the side panel. Now, before we get into the side panel, let me show you another button that you'll see when you are inside of an email. You'll see an option up at the top middle of our screen to summarize this email. This is also great for summarizing entire threads of emails too. Now, another piece that we're going to be able to utilize is what we call the side panel. Think of the side panel as kind of wrapping everything together in Workspace from app to app to app within your account, all in one nice, neat, tidy window. It doesn't have to be specific to the app that you're working in. You can reference things from other applications. For example, I'm in Mail. I could reference something in Calendar. All right, where's the side panel? Let's look in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. You'll see the Gemini icon that says Ask Gemini when you hover over it. And when we click on that, it's going to pop out this right side window. So obviously you can see just below, how can I help you? And then right below that, it gives you some different options to get started. Ideas, in other words. Summarizing an email. Hey, tell me what Gemini can do. I do that all the time. I ask the tool, what can you do for me? List action items from emails or from a user. So this is kind of like a really extended Google search, as well as help me put things together that I may be looking for within my email for me to take action. Now, just a quick side note here on how to use the side panel. It's kind of small for some of us. However, you do have some options to be able to do some things in this panel. If we look in the upper right, you'll see 3 dots where we'll be able to clear our history, make some more suggestions, and send feedback. When we create a new prompt to add into Gemini here, you'll see a double-headed arrow that will allow us to extend this window out to the left, making it a little bit easier to see and read a little bit more. At the bottom is where the magic happens. This is where you're going to put your prompt, your ask, your task that you're wanting Gemini to assist with. Okay, so this is another generative tool here. This is kind of part 2, the side panel. Now, we also, while we're here in Mail, have the side panel along with chat and spaces. Let's go to the left. I'm going to click on my chat tab. And when I bring that up, you'll now see to the right side, the side panel has stayed open, but if I clicked on it and opened it, you'll see it says Ask Gemini about its features in chat. So now I can ask questions about chats that I've got going on, as well as my spaces. So this is a great tool to keep organized, ask questions about chats, maybe find action items that have been assigned to you, whatever it may be that you're trying to do and ask about with chat. But I wanted to mention you have it here for chat as well as for spaces. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to go to the Drive window. You'll notice I skipped over Google Calendar. It is not there currently. That is coming soon. But in Google Drive, in the upper right corner, you will see that side panel icon. When we click on that, you'll see it drops the window down and we can start using it. So once again, what can we do in Gemini with Google Drive? We can have it summarize topics. We can have it summarize contents of folders. We can have it find specific files around different topics and things that I might be wanting to do. Coming soon is going to be a great feature called Help Me Organize to really help you put things together and organize things in your Google Drive. You'll also notice in the upper right corner, there's that double-headed arrow, the expand. When I click on that, you'll see it just extends that window out to the left, making it a little bit bigger and easier for me to see. Okay, so there's the side panel in Google Drive. Now let's go back to our Google Docs. You'll see to the upper right corner of our screen, there's the Gemini icon. And here is the side panel that we can do some things with our Google Docs. Now remember what we said earlier, you can also reference files that maybe are of not Google Doc format. So you can reference materials from anywhere in your drive, maybe emails, calendar events, even though I'm here in the Google Doc window. What can Gemini do here? Well, it can do a number of different things. If you're in a blank document, it can definitely help you create things from scratch. Maybe you're brainstorming on the fly. And if you're working with documents that already have material in it, you can have it summarize the document. You can have it ask questions about the document and maybe some things that are in that document or questions about it. What are risks associated with this statement of work that I'm working on? And it can pull up those different pieces there. So we have Google Docs, Drive, Gmail, Chat, and we also have it in Sheets. If we look in the upper right-hand corner, the Gemini icon pops it down, and you'll see we can ask Gemini, what can you do in Sheets? Create a table for me, maybe create a chart, ask questions about your data that's in your spreadsheet. You can do a lot of different things with that Sheets side panel. Going into Slides, upper right corner, Gemini icon, side panel pops out. What can Gemini do here? Well, maybe an example would be, here's some content, create a slide based on this content. And it could be just for a single slide. Now, coming soon is another really neat feature that I'll be able to say, create me a slide deck based on this document or this file. And it will be able to create the outline, put the information in each of those slides, and then you can kind of tweak things as you see fit. Right now, you can create one slide at a time with material that you want to insert. It can't create the whole deck yet. Once again, coming soon. Okay, so we've covered a few places that we've seen Google Gemini, not necessarily in action, but where it's at. Let's piggyback on that and let's talk about the third place that we'll be able to see Gemini. And then I'm going to expand on another piece. So another place that you will see Gemini will be in the upper right-hand corner from your app launcher. When you go in your app launcher, and yours may be in a different place than mine, but you'll see a Gemini logo. That logo may be down towards the bottom of your launcher. Remember, you can customize your launcher by dragging and dropping it up to the top portion if you want to use it a lot. So you have what we call the Gemini app. I have mine already open in the upper left corner of the screen. So what is the Gemini app? Well, when you start off brand new and come into it, it will probably look a little similar to this. The left side will be collapsed. It'll just say, welcome to Gemini for your organization. You'll see down at the very bottom of our screen, our prompt bar. If we click the plus symbol, it'll allow us to do some different things in terms of adding files, images, whether they're from our hard drive or Google Drive, if you connect those things and work with it from there. You'll also see to the right side, one of my favorite pieces is the microphone. So you want to give a really detailed ask or prompt. And when you do this, sometimes it gets a little long-winded and you don't want to type all of that. Well, great news here in the app. This is where you get to click and add the microphone and you can just speak to it. So we also have some additional tools embedded into this Gemini app. If we look in the upper left corner of our screen, we have a 3-line icon. This expands that left side menu. We can create a new chat at any point in time in terms of if we're asking some things about some subject or topic in specific, we want to shift gears and go to a new topic, we can hit new chat so it resets itself. Below that, you'll see some of your history. So you can quickly go back to any of your prompts, find out what the results were, maybe take pieces from it. I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. And then in the bottom left of the screen, you'll see Gem Manager. Gems are actually personal AI tools. You'll have some that are pre-made by Google, and you can create your own, as I have in the bottom middle of our screen. I have a prompt assister, as in Whisperer, and I also have a test prompter to test and work with different prompts. You'll see some different things like a brainstormer, a career guide, a coding partner, or maybe a copy creator, and there's more. So you can use this as your personal assistant specific to an AI need. Down in the bottom left corner of our screen, you'll see Help. So this is where you can get FAQs and get information about Gemini. Also in the bottom left, you'll see Activity. Activity is going to be your entire log of the different prompts that you put in here. So you can quickly go back to and look at those and maybe use them again. And then lastly, we have Settings. This will allow you to go into dark theme. By default, it will be light or white theme. You can also click on that and it will give you the dark theme, which might be a little bit easier on your eyes since it's so bright. Now, if you really want to take advantage of the Google app, or the Gemini app, I should say, you want to click on Extensions. So from here, what we can do is we can turn on the connection to our Gmail, Calendar, Docs, Drive, your tasks, and Keep. So coming soon, you'll see that side panel in Keep and Tasks. Not here yet, but if you turn this on, you can connect information from Google Keep, Tasks, and Calendar. You can create things based on things in those different apps, or maybe even create things that are in those apps for you. Okay, so let's just go back to our main view here. In our gem screen, this is where we can create those basic gems. And then if we go into new chat, this is where we can create our new prompts. So down at the bottom, this is where you could do something like maybe what you're used to doing as a Google search. So you can ask Gemini to create something for you, find something for you. Remember what we said. The Gemini app here can generate text, images, code, and other forms of information. So you can really go hog wild on what you want to do in trying to generate, find things, get solutions for things, and so on. Down at the bottom is where you'll add your prompt. So we'll say, find me training ideas for Gemini for new users. A very quick, easy, simple prompt just to get started. And here's a breakdown of some ideas. So instead of a Google search of going through all of those different pieces, websites that you have to sort through, timelines, how old is the website? Is the text relevant? We can get a quick response for some information. Also, as a part of this, you'll be able to actually ask it to cite its sources. Down at the very bottom, you'll see an option to give it a thumbs up, a thumbs down. You can regenerate if you're not happy with the response it gave. It'll also give you some ideas and options to export to Google Docs or write into an email or maybe to Sheets or into some of the coding programs. And then the three dots there will allow you to do some additional things like, hey, can we double check that response and cite your sources for where you got information from? We can copy information, we can listen to the result, and we can report legal issues if we find so. Okay, I've got one last tool that I want to show you in one other app. So let's get out of this. I'm just going to go back to my Gmail, and in Google Meet, we're going to start a new meeting because we have a really neat tool that we can utilize here if we wish. And this is going to be called Take Notes for Me. Okay, so Take Notes for Me. What is it? How does this work? Let's get into our meeting and I'm going to show you a neat new tool. We're going to go to Join Now. Whenever you're in a meeting with someone, or if someone on the call actually has Gemini, then in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see a really cool tool. If we click and hover over our Take Notes for Me icon, once again, this will be in the upper right corner of your Google Meet screen. This will allow you to use the Take Notes for Me tool. Now with this, what it's going to do is it's going to create a summary or a recap of the conversation, who said what, all of those different action items, but it's going to be a summarization. So it's not going to be quite as detailed as a transcript. However, it will be detailed enough for you to get the highlights of the meeting and maybe those important action items that need to be done. Now, what happens with this is it creates a Google Doc. That Google Doc will get inserted into the organizer or the creator of the meeting's Google Drive. You can dictate the sharing permissions on that document if you want it to be disseminated, or if you want it to be private to you and only you as the organizer, you could turn the sharing permissions off because after all, it is a Google Drive file. But you can also share it with others just like you would any other Google Doc. So instead of having to read an entire transcript of maybe 25 pages worth from, say, a 45-minute meeting, you can get summation in a couple of paragraphs and the highlights of that. This is also another Gemini feature that you can utilize. Now, there's another couple of features that are more along the lines of the background, as in increased noise canceling, increased photogenic pieces that you can use with your camera. That kind of runs in the background. The take notes for me, this is the really cool piece. Now, another piece that is connected to Gemini with Google Meet is also the ability to go to your visual effects, and you can use Gemini to create a custom background. So if you would like to do something with that, you can ask Gemini to create a custom background for what you may want. Just don't forget, you do have to have your camera turned on in order for you to use that. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is what I have for you as an introduction to Google Gemini, all of the different apps that we can find it in, the basics of what the tool is, what it does, and how you can work with some of those things using Gemini. And remember, Gemini is not here to replace you as a worker, as an individual. It's here to be that tool to assist you in doing things faster, more efficient, saving you time for the most important thing in the world, you time. With that, everybody, take care. Have a great rest of the day. This is Triple G signing off.